Morning, tribe. It's 6:24 a.m. Monday morning, March 12th, 2018. Central Daylight Time, which is why it's dark again. Thank you very much, government. This makes a lot of sense. I deeply appreciate it. Let's assign arbitrary numbers to the timing and position of the sun. Great idea. In many of my videos, talking about loadout specifically, you'll hear me reference battlefield pickup or scarcity or the likelihood of something to be acquired. And I feel like that's something that a lot of preppers think about, but nobody really talks about. You know, battlefield pickup is a real thing. You can look at pretty much any conflict, you know, any war that's happened on the face of the earth, and it doesn't take long before the our forces in country. Just look at our SF guys and a lot of the contractors, right? They go over to the sandbox pretty quick. They ditch the M4 and they're onto an AK. You know, yeah, it's a older technology, bulkier weapon, it's less ergonomic, but that 7.62 39 hits a little bit harder than a 5.56 does, and it makes the same sound as the enemy's rifle. That confusion, that momentary pause that it creates when one of our guys cranks off a round that sounds like one of their guys, works in our favor, right? Works in their favor. So battlefield pickup is real, not just with weapons and munitions, but, you know, food, clothing, equipment, whatever. And I want to be clear on something. If it all hits the fan, there's a difference between looting and scavenging, okay? Looting is taking something from somebody else who still needs it or is still using it. Scavenging is taking something from nobody. It's been left behind. It's there. Just please have a strong moral compass and a strong set of operational ethics if looting and scavenging are part of your mindset and system for SHTF. Because you might mess with the wrong person and now all of your stuff becomes their stuff because you don't have a pulse anymore. So, things to think about. That being said, battlefield pickup. What do I think you will find out there on the battlefield of life during the end of the world as we know it, or SHTF, or, you know, whatever. The big reset, whatever you want to call it. Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you're going to have a rifle, it ought to be a 5.56 by 45 NATO chambering, because it is my opinion that will be one of, if not the most common rounds that you can acquire after SHTF. Number one, it's a NATO round, which means that if there are any military/governmental forces deployed in your area, that's likely what they will be carrying. Number two, the AR-15 modern sporting rifle. I don't know how many have been sold, but I know that there are lots of guys that have them, lots of girls that have them, and I know that a lot of those people, their rifle sits under their bed collecting dust. Except for that one day a year that they take it out and shoot it, maybe, right? So there's a lot of those weapons, and there's a lot of ammunition made for that chambering. Same thing goes with a 9mm pistol, most common handgun round in the world. I'm not terribly fond of the 9mm round. I think there are better options. We're not going to get into a caliber debate here. Suffice it to say there's a 45 on my hip. But for size and weight, 9mm gets the job done, specifically with jacketed hollow points to the central nervous system. So learn to shoot, know what the terminal T is, know how to hit C-spine. Anyway, point being, 9mm gets it done, and it's the most common handgun round, period. So you ought to have a firearm that can chamber that, and I do. I don't carry it all the time. 12 gauge shotgun, most common shotgun round in the world. 22 rifle, same thing, extremely common round. I'm not advocating 22 for SHTF. It's an underpowered, weak round. It cannot reach out and touch somebody, and the jury is out on its effectiveness. I have shot small animals with a 22 at close range and literally had them sneeze. Yeah, sneeze and run away with a 22 rifle. So if I have to bring deadly force to bear, it's not a 22. But for small game hunting and things like that, yes, it has its applications. So aside from that, calories. I think there will be an opportunity immediately after SHTF. Nobody's gonna do anything. They're gonna hunker down. Everybody's basically gonna shelter in place until they figure out that they just can't do it anymore. I either need to move, or I need to seek out help, or whatever, right? So I don't think calories, by and large, let me preface that by saying this, I don't think you're gonna find a lot of anything, because a lot of Americans live in the here and the now and are completely underprepared for anything to happen, right? They are not thinking like you and I are, so they don't have, considerable amounts of food stores laid up, or water storage, or, equipment and weapons and tools, and they are not thinking that way. But that being said, you may find some food locally, but I seriously doubt it. Doesn't mean you don't look for it, but I don't think it's going to be terribly available, which means that you should have food put up. Same thing with ammo. Don't go looking for ammo, because usually when you find ammo, it's flying at you at a few thousand feet per second. So you should have ammo put up. Water. Now, if there's like a common watering hole near you, or you have a creek or a stream or a well and you make your own electricity, or you have a well and you have a hand pump or whatever, awesome. Rainwater catchment is awesome as well. I'm going to be working with that once we get set up in Oklahoma, because we have about 8,000 square foot of roofs between the two houses. And we also have rural water, 2 creeks and 3 wells, but why not? If God's going to send it down, I might as well catch some of it and use it for what I need to use it for. So rainwater catchment is a good thing to have. But what a lot of people fail to think about is if they have water barrels at the house. I have several plastic 55-gallon drums filled with water. They are treated, and they are out of the sun, and blah, blah, blah. But I have these big old drums filled up with water. A lot of people don't have a good way to get water back out of those. They don't have a hand pump. They figure they're going to siphon or whatever. So get you a hand pump. They're like $25 on Amazon. And then get you another one, because 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And then figure out how you're going to replenish those. I'm not ashamed to tell you that right now, our nearest water source in Texas, that's not a utility water source, is about a half a mile away. And that the system to go get water from there is a small trailer hooked to a bicycle. And that trailer has some 5-gallon buckets with lids that go with it. Which is why it's going to be important to secure the neighborhood before all this takes place. Make friends in your neighborhood, because you don't want to be on your bicycle going to get some water, and Bill from down the street, who's a total jerk and has never liked you, sees you pedaling your bike, and he figures, you know what, it's about time that I gave that a-hole what he deserves, and he pops off around. So, anywho, have a way to replenish your water. Have food at your home. Water filtration and water treatment, I'm hoping is obvious to you guys, but please don't underestimate that. Water treatment can be as easy as unscented bleach, chlorine bleach. And there's a ratio there. Google will know it. I have it written down in several places. Unfortunately, one of those places is not my gray matter right now. But there is a ratio out there, so many drops per quart. And you can extrapolate that to gallons and 50 gallons and 10,000 gallons and so forth and so on. But unscented bleach, not the scented bleach, because that stuff will make your water taste like crap. So unscented bleach. And you can get chlorine. You can get you a big Berkey, which I'm not against. About $300 for a big Berkey, and they're excellent. Okay. Then what else do you need? You need a way to make food, right? So you should probably not be in the city. I hope you're not in the city. If you are, leave. If you're suburban, believe me, it can be done. We are suburban homesteaders on a third of an acre in North Texas. And we had meat rabbits. We got rid of them because of Torah. But we had meat rabbits. And frankly, they were pretty good tasting. And we have chickens. And when I say chickens, we had laying hens. We still have laying hens. And we did a batch of Cornish cross meat birds in a small chicken tractor that I built that I moved around the backyard. And we have a very robust garden. It's about 1/2 of my backyard is all garden. And we barter and trade with other people that are doing the same thing in our area. So you need to be able to make calories on your place. So I would highly recommend get a couple chickens, get a half a dozen chickens, get a dozen chickens, whatever, get chickens, because they make eggs every day, and eggs are delicious. And get a garden planted, and start. A lot of this, guys, comes back to team building. We've talked about this over and over and over again, right? But battlefield pickup, food, maybe. Sooner or later, you're going to have to trespass to get what you need, right? And if you don't have to, if you're already making what you need, it's one less thing. One less risk you have to take. One less chance you have to take. Shelter, your house, wherever you live now, should be good. Unless you're bugging out. If you're bugging in, make sure your place is secure. But what else are you going to scavenge? Medical supplies. Please have a robust medical kit. Several of them. I have literally a half dozen. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 that are not part of systems, that are standalones. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I got 9 or 10 first aid kits. Okay? That should tell you something. Yeah, you'll find some stuff, but do you want to be dependent upon the stuff that you find? Meds, OTC meds. You have a high fever, aspirin will save your life. Something to think about, And if you're dependent upon medication to stay alive, I think you and your doctor need to get real friendly, and you need to say, look, doc, I got a problem. I'm worried about XYZ. Depending on where you are, they may put you in jail for this, right? Because, he failed the psych eval, lock him up, whatever. Doc, I got a problem. I'm worried about XYZ. I'd like to get 6 months of all my necessary prescriptions. By the way, if you're on a prescription that's not necessary, get the hell off of it. And it can be done, believe me. I've gone from 13 medications to 2 medications just through changing my diet. No lie. And one day we'll have story time with T, and I'll tell you all the things that are wrong with my body from doing the kind of stupid things that many young men do. But get off as many meds as you can, and the ones that you are heavily dependent on, I recommend you get a stockpile of, so that you have them, so that if something goes wrong, you're not out there, I've just got to have amlodipine. Without amlodipine, I'm going to die. Guess what, dude? The likelihood of you stumbling across amlodipine and it being the proper dosage It's basically zero, right? So if you need things like that, stock up on them. The rest of it, I mean, like sanitary items, clothes, blah, blah, blah. The point of this whole video is, yes, it's possible to scavenge. Yes, you could even go loot someplace. And frankly, there are several big box store warehouses near me that I have marked on several different maps that if I need to, I know where they are. The warehouses, not the stores, the warehouses. Because everybody's going to go to the store. Very few people are going to go to the warehouse that supplies the store. So that's something to think about too. Non-perishable items. But everything you're going to need, you need to have now. Because battlefield pickup, while it's a real thing, I wouldn't bet your life on it. Not when we live in such a time, such a fat time right now, where we have more than we need. So we're in the fat times now. The lean times are coming. You need to be putting away now in the fat times to be prepared for the lean times. So, I mean, I think it's also important to note, especially in a combative environment, that if you find something laying on the ground, maybe it's a Kalashnikov style rifle and you just really wanted one, I'd be careful picking it up. If you don't see it dropped, I wouldn't pick it back up again, because there's many a young soldier has lost a leg or an arm or a foot or a face or a pulse picking things up off the ground that were tied to tripwires. So that's something to consider too. If you see the guy drop the rifle, maybe because it was pointed at you and you put him down, you pick the rifle up, bring it with you, add it to your systems, but be extremely leery of things just laying around, high value items just laying around, because it's entirely possible that you find yourself in an ambush position and there's a couple people on Overwatch with overlapping fields of fire watching you act like an idiot. You're going to go pick something up and that's going to pull a tripwire, which is going to trigger an explosion, which is going to trigger the ambush, which is going to get you and your whole team wasted. Which is why you ought to have the stuff you need now rather than go looking for it when it all hits the fan. So battlefield pickup is a real thing. It can be beneficial to you, but I would not put yourself in that position in the first place. So it's 6:42. I got to go inside and be a boss. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.